Leora floated above the glowing forests of Zephyria, her violet eyes tracing the patterns of the luminescent trees below. The air was thick with a soft, sweet scent, and the ground shimmered faintly under the twin moons. She loved this view, this quiet moment above her home. But today, even the beauty of her planet could not calm the storm inside her heart. For generations, her family had been part of the Council of Zephyria, a group that guided the planet with wisdom and careful planning. Leora's family was proud, respected, and feared by many. Yet for all their prestige, they had always expected something of her, a duty she could not escape. And now that duty had become terrifyingly clear. Leora, her mother's voice, echoed through the crystal halls of their home. The delegation from Earth has arrived. It is time for you to meet the human who is to be your future husband. Leora stiffened, her stomach twisted and her hands curled into fists. Humans. The thought alone made her heart race. She had grown up hearing stories about their recklessness, their short lives, their strange ways. She had learned to fear them, to distrust them, and now she was being told she must marry one. I cannot, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. I do not know them, I do not belong with them. But her mother's tone left no room for argument. This is not a choice, Leora. This is an alliance. You are part of something greater than yourself, remember that. The words made Leora shiver. She understood the importance of alliances. Zephyria had been seeking strong partners beyond their galaxy, and humans were known to be brave, clever, and adaptable. But knowing something in theory was very different from living it. She felt as if the stars themselves were closing in around her. She decided to go outside. The soft glow of Zephyria's twin moons bathed the forests in silver and lavender light. Leora hovered gently, letting her small flight thrusters keep her steady above the treetops. The cool air brushed against her skin, and for a moment she could breathe. For a moment she could forget the humans, the council, the duties that awaited her. Then she heard it, a soft humming from the landing pads. Ships from Earth. Humans were here. Leora's heart pounded. She landed softly, careful not to show her fear. The ships were strange, unlike anything she had ever seen before. They were sleek and metallic, but clearly made by beings who did not know Zephyria's unique atmosphere. One of the ships opened its doors with a hiss, and out stepped a young man. He looked around with wide, curious eyes, taking in the glowing forest and the shimmering sky. He was tall, with brown hair and eyes that seemed to hold a gentle warmth. His movements were careful, cautious but confident. Leora felt a strange pull in her chest, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and something she could not name. The council, official standing beside her, cleared his throat. Leora, this is him, Ethan. He has come from Earth to learn about Zephyria and to, you know the rest. Ethan stepped forward, bowing slightly. His voice was calm, steady, and surprisingly kind. Greetings, Leora. I hope I do not frighten you. I only wish to meet you properly. Leora's lips parted, but no words came out. She had expected arrogance or rudeness or even something terrifying. But he seemed ordinary. Human, yes, but not frightening. Her mother, sensing Leora's hesitation, stepped forward. He is part of our future, Leora. You must at least speak with him. Leora nodded slowly, her mind racing. She wanted to flee, to hide, to soar above the forest and never come down. Yet something in Ethan's calm presence made her hesitate. Perhaps it was the way he observed the forests, the way he seemed careful not to disturb anything. Perhaps it was the simple kindness in his eyes. Hello, she said finally, her voice small but clear. I am Leora. Ethan smiled. I am glad to meet you, Leora. I have heard many things about Zephyria, but nothing compares to seeing it with my own eyes. Leora's violet eyes widened. And what have you heard? She asked, curiosity overtaking her fear for a moment. He chuckled softly. That your people are wise, brave, and remarkable. I hope that is true. Leora blinked, She was not used to compliments from humans. Most humans in the stories she had read were boastful or careless. This one seemed sincere. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. The Zephyrian Council had sensors that detected unusual energy readings from deep within the forest. Leora and Ethan both turned toward the source. "Do you want to see?" Ethan asked, his tone filled with quiet excitement rather than fear. Leora hesitated. Humans were supposed to be reckless, and she had every reason to stay back. Yet something in her urged her to follow. Perhaps it was curiosity, or perhaps it was the strange sense of trust she felt for him. They moved together into the glowing forest, their footsteps silent on the soft, luminescent ground. Strange creatures watched from above, their eyes reflecting the moonlight. The forest was alive, humming with energy. Leora had spent her whole life here, yet with Ethan beside her it seemed different. Suddenly a flash of light shot from the trees. A small Zephyrian drone had malfunctioned, and it was now spinning wildly toward them. Leora reacted immediately, raising her hand and using her energy shield to stop it. Ethan jumped back, surprised but unharmed. "You have power," he said, awe in his voice. "It's incredible." Leora felt a strange mix of pride and embarrassment. "It is nothing. I am trained for this. Everyone in my family can do this. But not everyone can do it as naturally as you," Ethan said, smiling again. "You make it look easy." Leora felt a flutter in her chest. She had never met a human who spoke to her like this. Not with awe, but with respect. It was comforting. The rest of the evening passed with small discoveries. Leora showed Ethan the glowing plants, the floating rivers of light, and even the tiny creatures that danced in the moonlight. He watched with fascination, asking questions that showed he truly wanted to understand her world. For the first time, Leora began to feel something she had not expected: hope. Perhaps humans were not as frightening as she had been taught. Perhaps she could learn to work with them. Perhaps she could even like them. As the twin moons rose higher, Leora looked at Ethan and realized she did not feel the same fear she had felt that morning. She was still nervous, still unsure about the future. But now there was something else too: curiosity. The night ended with a quiet promise, unspoken but clear. Tomorrow they would meet again, and the days after that would test them both. There would be challenges, as there always were. But perhaps, just perhaps, Leora thought, this human was someone she could trust. Someone who could help her see that the universe was bigger, brighter, and more beautiful than fear alone could show. And with that thought, Leora felt a small spark of excitement, a tiny flame of courage in her heart. For the first time, she wondered, maybe this journey would not only change her life, but also the lives of all who called Zephyria home. The next morning, Zephiria's sky was painted in shades of pink and gold as twin suns rose above the horizon. Leora stood on a floating platform outside her family's crystal home, brushing her long silver hair back from her face. She felt a mix of anticipation and unease. Today, she and Ethan were to spend the day together, learning about each other's worlds. She did not know what to expect. Humans were unpredictable. She had grown up believing that their ways were strange, their customs difficult, their minds different. Yet when she had watched Ethan explore the glowing forest last night, she had felt a flicker of trust. Perhaps he was different from the humans she had been taught to fear. Ethan approached, carrying a small device that shimmered faintly. "Good morning, Leora," he said, smiling. "I thought we could start today by exploring the city of Zephyrians. I want to understand how your people live." Leora's violet eyes narrowed slightly. "The city is not like your Earth cities," she said carefully. "It is alive. It changes with the people who live here. The walls, the roads, even the lights respond to the energy of those around them. It may be confusing for a human." Ethan laughed softly. "I like confusing things. It means I get to learn." Leora could not help but smile at his enthusiasm. There was something about the way he approached the unknown that was different from the humans she had feared. He seemed curious, respectful, and patient. Their journey began as they glided over the city in small personal transport pods. The city shimmered in shades of blue, green, and gold, its towers twisting like crystals. The streets were alive with Zephyrians going about their daily routines, trading glowing crystals, tending floating gardens, and performing energy dances that made light ripple across the sky. Ethan watched in awe, his eyes wide. "This is incredible," he whispered. "It's unlike anything I have ever seen. How do you all live here without being overwhelmed?" Leora tilted her head. "It becomes natural. The city listens to you, and you listen to it. That is the balance." As they moved through the city, Leora noticed how different Ethan's approach was from other humans she had heard about. He did not rush, he did not touch things carelessly, and he always asked before interacting with their environment. For the first time, Leora felt a sense of pride, not in her own abilities, but in the possibility that humans could be trusted. Their next stop was the floating library, a vast structure of crystal towers that contained knowledge from Zephyria and other worlds. Leora loved this place. The library was alive, and it changed as visitors moved through it. Books floated gently through the air, guided by the energy of those seeking them. Ethan followed Leora closely, clearly fascinated. "How does it know what I am looking for?" he asked. "It senses intention," Leora explained. "Your mind must focus and the library will respond. It does not force knowledge upon you. It waits for you to be ready." Ethan nodded, concentrating as he reached out for a floating book. The book hovered in front of him, opening to a page filled with diagrams of interstellar travel. He glanced at Leora. "This is amazing. You make it look easy." Leora felt a small blush. "It takes training. Humans may find it difficult." "Perhaps," Ethan said, smiling. "But humans are also adaptable. We learn quickly when we try." The two spent hours in the library, exchanging knowledge about their worlds. Leora explained Zephyrian energy manipulation, the way plants and creatures communicated through subtle vibrations, and the importance of harmony in their society. Ethan shared human inventions, stories of exploration, and examples of bravery from Earth's history. Despite their differences, Leora began to see a connection forming. Ethan was not just a visitor. He was trying to understand, to respect her world. And in return, she found herself explaining things she had never shared with anyone else. However, not all moments were easy. As they left the library, a group of young Zephyrians approached, curious about the human. One of them, a boy with bright turquoise skin, laughed loudly. "So this is the human who is to marry Leora? Does he even know how to survive here?" Ethan smiled politely, but Leora could see a flicker of irritation in his eyes. "I may be human," he said calmly, "but I am capable of learning, and I respect your planet. That is more than some Zephyrians do." The group of young aliens stared at him for a moment, then scattered with murmured comments. Leora felt a mix of pride and nervousness. She had expected resistance from her own people, and yet Ethan had handled it with grace. For the first time, she felt that maybe she could trust a human, not blindly, but enough to believe that they could work together. The rest of the day was filled with small adventures. They practiced navigating Zephyria's floating bridges, tested energy shields and controlled training arenas, and even participated in a ritual dance where light and sound moved with the participants' energy. Leora was amazed at Ethan's willingness to try, even when he stumbled or made mistakes. He laughed at himself but never gave up. By sunset, they reached the edge of the city, where a vast cliff overlooked a river of liquid light. The sight was breathtaking, with glowing reflections dancing across the water. Leora floated above the edge, feeling the wind on her skin, and for a moment she allowed herself to simply enjoy the beauty. Ethan stood beside her, gazing out at the river. "It's more beautiful than I could have imagined," he said softly. Leora nodded. "It is, but beauty alone is not enough. You must understand it, respect it, and protect it." "I will try," Ethan said earnestly, "and I want to learn from you." The words made Leora's heart beat faster. She had never expected a human to speak with such sincerity. For all her fear of humans, she was beginning to see that one could be different. One could be patient, kind, and brave. As darkness fell, they returned to her family's home. The twin moons reflected in the crystal walls, casting soft shadows that danced like living beings. Leora felt a strange sense of hope. Today had been difficult, filled with challenges and moments of uncertainty, yet it had also been enlightening. She had seen courage, curiosity, and respect in a human. Her mother watched them as they entered. "How was your day?" she asked, her voice calm but expectant. Leora hesitated, then smiled faintly. "It was interesting. I learned that humans can be more capable than I thought." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "Interesting is not a word I often hear from you. That isn't good." That night, Leora sat by the window, looking out at the glowing forests. She thought about Ethan, the way he had handled the teasing Zephyrians, the way he had laughed at himself, the way he had shown respect for her world. She realized that her fear of marrying a human was slowly changing. Fear was still there, yes, but now curiosity and something else, something warm and unfamiliar, was growing in its place. For the first time, she wondered if humans were not the dangerous, reckless beings she had been told about. Perhaps they were different from planet to planet, from person to person. And perhaps, just perhaps, one human could be someone she could trust, even admire, even care about. As she drifted off to sleep, Leora felt a tiny spark of courage light within her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new discoveries. But tonight she allowed herself to hope. Hope that humans and Zephyrians could not only coexist but understand each other. And hope that perhaps she could find her place in this larger universe, alongside someone who was brave enough to see it with her. Leora woke to the soft hum of Zephyria's morning. The twin suns were just rising, casting gentle light over the floating forests and sparkling rivers below. She stretched, feeling the familiar energy of her planet flowing through her. Yet today, her mind was restless. Something in the air seemed different. Ethan had arrived early as usual, his brown eyes bright with curiosity. He carried a small scanner device, and he greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Leora. I think I may have found something unusual last night, something that might need both our attention." Leora frowned, her violet eyes narrowing. "Unusual? On Zephyria, unusual can be dangerous. What is it?" He motioned toward the floating forest. "There's a disturbance in the energy readings. It's subtle, but it doesn't match any natural pattern. I thought, maybe we should investigate together." Leora hesitated. Humans were unpredictable. She had seen that courage could sometimes turn into recklessness. But she also knew that Ethan had proven himself patient and careful, and besides, she could sense the sincerity in his words. "Very well," she said finally. "But we must be careful. This is not like our previous explorations." Together they glided over the forests, moving toward the area where the scanner had detected unusual energy. The forest below seemed calm, glowing softly in the early sunlight. But as they approached, a faint pulse of disturbance rippled through the air, making the glowing plants flicker nervously. Leora's heart tightened. Something was wrong. She focused her energy, sending out subtle waves to sense the source. "It is hidden," she whispered. "Someone, or something, is interfering with the natural energy of this area." Ethan's brow furrowed. Hidden? Could it be another species? Or perhaps a rogue group from Zephyria? Leora shook her head. "Not from Zephyria. I would have sensed them. This is someone who wants to remain unseen." "Careful, Ethan. We do not know what we are dealing with." They descended into the forest, moving quietly between the glowing trees. Strange shadows danced among the branches, and a low, vibrating hum echoed through the air. Leora felt the energy shift beneath her feet, an unnatural, sharp pattern that set her nerves on edge. Suddenly, a group of cloaked figures emerged from behind the trees. They moved with precision, their energy shields shimmering faintly. Leora's first instinct was to prepare her defenses, but Ethan remained calm, observing them carefully. "Leora," he whispered, "we don't know their intentions. Let's see if we can communicate first." The figures paused as if sensing his words. One stepped forward, raising a hand in a gesture of peace. Leora felt the tension ease slightly. She lowered her shield, though cautiously. The cloaked figure spoke in a language Leora did not recognize, but Ethan activated his translator device. The voice was now clear. "Zephyrians and humans are not welcome to interfere. Leave, or there will be consequences." Leora's eyes narrowed. "Who are you? Why are you here?" she demanded, her voice firm. The figure hesitated, then answered. "We are from beyond this system. We oppose your alliance. You have no right to change the balance of power." Ethan stepped forward. "We mean no harm. We are explorers, not conquerors. But we will not leave innocent lands undefended." The figure's energy shield flared brightly, a warning. "Then prepare yourselves." In an instant, the forest became a battlefield. The cloaked figures moved with incredible speed, firing energy blasts that made the trees flicker and spark. Leora reacted immediately, raising her shields to block the attacks. Ethan followed her lead, using the scanner device to detect weak points in their energy patterns. "Stay close," Leora shouted. "We can outmaneuver them together." They darted through the trees, dodging blasts and using the natural energy of the forest to move silently. Leora marveled at Ethan's focus. He was human, yes, but he moved with intelligence and courage. Every action was calculated, every decision thoughtful. She began to understand that fear alone could not define him. Courage combined with care and respect made him formidable. After several tense minutes, they managed to corner one of the figures near a glowing river. Leora raised her energy shield, and Ethan activated a containment field. The figure struggled, but could not escape. "Who are you?" Leora demanded again, her voice calm but unwavering. The figure's hood fell back, revealing a face unlike any Leora had seen. Tall, angular features, skin that shimmered like liquid metal, and eyes that glowed faintly blue. "We are the Valori," the figure said. "We guard the balance of the galaxy. Humans and Zephyrians working together threatens what we protect." Ethan stepped forward, speaking carefully. "We are not here to threaten. We only wish to understand each other, to build peace. If you attack us, it will only create more conflict." The Valori's eyes flickered as if considering his words. Leora could feel the tension in the energy around them. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. Finally, the Valori spoke. "Perhaps we misjudged you, but your alliance cannot continue without challenges. Be warned, humans and Zephyrians. The universe is watching, and not all who watch are friendly." With that, the Valori vanished into the forest, leaving only a faint ripple of energy behind. Leora lowered her shields, her heart still racing. Ethan looked at her with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked. Leora nodded slowly. "Yes, I think so. But we must be careful. The Valori are only the first obstacle. There may be others." Ethan glanced at the glowing river, then back at Leora. "We'll face them together. I trust you, Leora." Her heart warmed at his words. Trust, respect, understanding. These were things she had never expected from a human. And yet here they were, building a bridge between two worlds, one challenge at a time. The rest of the day was quiet, but Leora and Ethan remained vigilant. They returned to the city, reporting the encounter to the council. The elders listened, carefully, nodding at the seriousness of the situation. "You handled yourselves well," said one of the elders, Zephyrians. "It is rare for outsiders to show such composure. But remember, this is only the beginning. Alliances attract attention, and not all attention is welcome." Leora and Ethan exchanged a glance. They did not need to speak. Their shared experience had already formed a bond stronger than words could express. That night, as Leora floated above the glowing forests, She reflected on the day's events. Fear had still been present, but it had been tempered by courage, understanding, and trust. She realized that humans, and perhaps Ethan in particular, were capable of more than she had imagined. Ethan joined her soon after, gliding gently to her side. "The forest looks calm now," he said, his voice soft. "But I can still feel the energy from earlier. It's powerful." "Yes," Leora replied. "Powerful and dangerous, but we survived. Together." He smiled. "Together," he echoed. Leora looked at him, her violet eyes meeting his warm brown ones. She had come to understand that fear did not have to define her choices. Courage and understanding could guide her instead. And perhaps, just perhaps, humans and Zephyrians could learn to trust one another, even when the universe seemed to oppose them. As the twin moons rose, casting soft light over the forests, Leora felt a quiet determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and there would be dangers she could not yet imagine. But with Ethan by her side, she felt ready to face them. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope, not just for herself, but for the Alliance, for her people, and for the possibility of a future where humans and Zephyrians could coexist in trust and respect. And somewhere deep in her heart, a small spark of something new began to grow. Trust, friendship, and perhaps even a hint of love. The sun had barely risen over Zephyria when Leora prepared for another day of exploration with Ethan. After yesterday's encounter with the Valori, both of them knew that the universe held dangers that required vigilance, courage, and cooperation. Yet Leora felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. Each challenge brought them closer, but each also reminded her that the universe was unpredictable. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked, adjusting his gear and giving her a reassuring smile. Leora nodded, gripping her energy staff. "As ready as I will ever be. But we must be careful. The Valori are only the beginning. Others may try to test us." They set out toward the shimmering canyons, a vast region of floating rocks and energy currents. The Council had sent them there to investigate unusual energy readings that could signal potential threats or resources for Zephyria. The terrain was treacherous, with floating platforms and narrow pathways. One wrong step could mean falling into the luminous abyss below. As they navigated the canyons, Leora noticed Ethan's careful attention to each step. Unlike the humans she had imagined, who often rushed into danger, he moved with precision, respecting both the environment and her guidance. She felt a quiet admiration for him, though she would not admit it aloud. "Stay close to me," she instructed. "The energy currents here can be unpredictable. If you get separated, it will be difficult to find you." Ethan nodded. "I trust your judgment, Leora. Lead the way." For hours they moved through the canyons, documenting energy fluctuations and observing strange crystalline formations that pulsed with light. Their cooperation grew naturally. Leora's knowledge of Zephyria's energy patterns complemented Ethan's analytical skills. He could detect subtle shifts she might have missed, while she understood the terrain and its hidden dangers instinctively. As the sun reached its peak, a sudden tremor shook the canyon. A large floating rock broke, loose, tumbling toward them with alarming speed. Leora reacted instantly, raising her energy shield. Ethan leapt aside, activating a small energy barrier to protect himself. "Leora!" he shouted. "We need to move faster." She nodded, gripping his hand as they jumped onto a nearby platform. The rock crashed behind them, sending a wave of energy through the canyon. Dust and light swirled around them, but they were unharmed. For a brief moment, Leora's fear surged, reminding her of the dangers that came with trusting humans and venturing into unknown territory. But Ethan's calm presence steadied her. He extended his hand, helping her balance on the unstable platform. "We did well," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Together, we can handle more than we think." Leora's heart warmed. Together. That word felt different, now. It carried more meaning than simply being side by side. It was trust, partnership, and perhaps something deeper that she did not fully understand yet. Their exploration continued, But the canyon's energy grew erratic. Strange pulses surged from the crystalline formations, and Leora felt a pull in her energy, a warning she could not ignore. "Something is here," she murmured. "We are not alone." Suddenly, a shadow darted between the floating rocks. Leora instinctively raised her shield, but Ethan's voice called out, calm yet urgent. "Move, Leora. There are multiple figures." The canyon erupted into chaos. A group of cloaked intruders, similar to the Velori they had encountered before, attacked, firing energy blasts that made the rocks shudder. Leora and Ethan defended themselves, moving in perfect coordination, but the intruders were fast, and the terrain favored their agility. In the chaos, a blast struck near Leora, sending her tumbling into a narrow crevice. Ethan shouted, but before he could reach her, another blast separated them further. Panic surged in Leora's chest. For the first time, she felt truly vulnerable. She had faced dangers before, but this separation was different. It was personal. Ethan, meanwhile, had been forced onto another platform, watching helplessly as the intruders moved to surround them both. His mind raced. Leora was strong, capable, and resourceful, but he could not let her face them alone. Taking a deep breath, he activated his scanner, detecting weak points in the intruders' energy patterns. He had to act quickly. Leora crawled through the crevice, feeling the pulse of Zephyria's energy guiding her. She reached a narrow opening, peering out to see one of the intruders approaching. Her shield flared, and she braced herself. But before the figure could strike, Ethan's energy pulse struck from above, knocking the intruder back. "Ethan," she called, relief flooding her. "I'm here," he replied, his voice strong. "Stay calm, Leora. We will get through this." Together they fought with precision, using the canyon's energy currents to their advantage. Leora's shields and energy manipulation complemented Ethan's strategic attacks and quick thinking. Slowly, they forced the intruders to retreat, using their combined strength and trust in each other. Finally, the canyon fell silent. Dust and light settled around them, and the air was thick with tension. Leora and Ethan looked at each other, breathing heavily but unharmed. You were incredible," Leora said, her voice soft. I didn't think a human could handle this." Ethan smiled, brushing dust from his clothing. "And I didn't think an alien could make me feel so confident." "You're amazing, Leora. We make a good team." Leora felt a warmth in her chest she could not explain. The fear she had felt before, the fear of humans, the fear of marrying one, was slowly dissolving, replaced by admiration and trust. She realized that courage and understanding could overcome fear, and that humans could be just as capable and dependable as any Zephyrian. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the canyon, they began their journey back to the city. Leora glanced at Ethan, who looked out at the horizon with a quiet determination. For the first time, she considered the possibility of the future, not just as a duty to her family or her planet, but as a choice she could make for herself. Back. In the city, the council awaited their report. The elders listened carefully as Leora and Ethan recounted the encounter, noting the intruders' strategy and the dangers they had faced. The council praised their teamwork and courage, emphasizing that the alliance required more than diplomacy. It required bravery, trust, and the willingness to face the unknown together. That night, Leora sat by the window of her crystal home, gazing out at the floating forests bathed in moonlight. She thought about the day's events, the danger, the fear, and the trust she had placed in Ethan. A small spark of something new had grown inside her: hope, courage, and perhaps a hint of something more. Ethan joined her soon after, carrying a small device that displayed the energy patterns from the canyon. "The readings are stable now," he said, "but we should stay alert. There may be more like them." Leora nodded, feeling a strange calm despite the recent danger. "We faced them together," she said softly. "And we will face whatever comes next. Together," Ethan smiled, his hand brushing hers. "Together," he echoed, For the first time, Leora felt a sense of certainty. Fear had not disappeared, but it no longer controlled her. She had learned that humans could be brave, respectful, and dependable. She had learned that trust could form even across worlds, and she had learned that her heart could guide her as well as her mind. As the twin moons rose high in the sky, casting gentle light over the city, Leora allowed herself to imagine a future where humans and Zephyrians not only coexisted, but worked, learned, and grew together. And perhaps in that future she and Ethan could explore the universe side by side, united not by duty alone, but by trust, courage, and understanding. The morning on Zephyria was calm, but Leora could feel the tension in the air. Reports had come in from the outer regions of the planet, strange energy disturbances similar to the ones she and Ethan had encountered in the shimmering canyons. The council feared another intrusion from the Velori or other unknown factions. Leora stood on the balcony of her family's home, looking over the glowing forests below. Her heart was steady, but she could not ignore the unease that tightened her chest. Today she and Ethan were to investigate these disturbances together. After all they had faced, Leora knew that trust, courage, and teamwork were their strongest weapons. Ethan appeared at the doorway, carrying a scanner device and a small pack of supplies. He smiled when he saw her. "Ready for another adventure?" he asked lightly, though she could see the seriousness behind his eyes. "As ready as I can be," she replied. "Let's go." They boarded a small hovercraft and set off toward the outer forests. The journey was quiet, but both were alert, eyes scanning the energy patterns and the terrain. Leora felt a strange sense of calm when Ethan was beside her. She had feared humans, feared their unpredictability. But he had proven time and again that courage could take many forms: patience, strategy, and respect. When they arrived at the site, the air shimmered with unstable energy. The ground pulsed, faintly, and some of the trees flickered in unnatural colors. Leora immediately sensed something lurking. "Stay close," she said. "It's similar to before, but stronger. Whoever is here has learned from our last encounter." Suddenly, figures emerged from the shadows. More Velori, moving with speed and precision. Leora and Ethan instinctively raised their defenses, ready for battle. "This time we need a plan," Ethan said, scanning the energy readings. "They're too strong for a straight fight." Leora nodded. "We will use the environment. The energy here responds to our focus. Let's guide it against them." Working together, they manipulated the surrounding energy. Leora directed shields and energy waves to protect themselves and deflect attacks, while Ethan calculated angles and trajectories to create openings in the intruders' movements. It was a delicate dance, one that required complete trust and cooperation. Despite the danger, Leora felt a sense of exhilaration. This was not just about survival, it was about partnership. She realized how much she had come to rely on Ethan, not only for his skills, but for his unwavering calm, his steady presence, and the understanding he showed her. After a tense struggle, the intruders were forced to retreat, their energy disrupted by the duo's combined strategy. The forest settled back into its natural rhythm, glowing softly once more. Leora and Ethan stood side by side, catching their breath. "We did it," Ethan said, a smile tugging at his lips. "Together, as always." "Together," Leora echoed, her violet eyes meeting his warm brown ones. In that moment she felt something deep and certain. She trusted him completely, and the fear that had once shadowed her heart had faded. They returned to the city, reporting their findings to the council. The elders listened carefully, nodding with approval. "Your cooperation has strengthened the alliance," one said. "You have shown that trust and understanding can overcome even the greatest threats." Later that evening, Leora and Ethan walked through the city's glowing streets. The twin moons cast soft light over the towers and floating bridges, making the entire city shimmer like liquid crystal. Leora felt a quiet joy in the air, a sense that the trials of the past days had brought more than survival. They had brought understanding, trust, and connection. Ethan paused at a bridge overlooking the river of liquid light. "Leora," he said softly, These past days have shown me something important. Not just about Zephyria or its people, but about you. You are brave, kind, and wise beyond measure. Leora's heart quickened. She had felt the same pull, the same certainty, but she had not dared to speak it. Now, standing here with him, she realized she could. I feel the same, she said, her voice steady. I feared humans once. I feared leaving my world. But you have shown me courage, respect, and care. I trust you, Ethan. I want to be with you. Ethan's face lit up with warmth. He took her hand gently. Then we will face the future together. Not as duty or obligation, but by choice. Together they looked out at the glowing forests and the endless sky beyond. The universe was vast, filled with wonders, dangers, and possibilities. But for the first time, Leora felt certain that she was ready to face it, not alone, but with someone who understood and respected her completely. In the following days, preparations were made for a formal ceremony uniting them, not merely as representatives of their worlds, but as partners in life and exploration. Leora's family and the council celebrated, seeing the union as a symbol of hope and cooperation between Zephyria and Earth. During the ceremony, Leora and Ethan stood before their families and friends. The city shimmered with energy, responding to the emotions and intentions of those present. When they exchanged vows, it was not just a promise of duty, it was a promise of partnership, trust, and mutual respect. We will explore the universe together, Ethan said, his voice clear. We will face challenges side by side, learn from each other, and protect what we love. Leora's eyes glowed softly with energy as she responded. We will do so with courage, wisdom, and care. Together we will create a future where humans and Zephyrians can understand, respect, and thrive alongside each other. As their hands joined, a wave of energy spread across the city, harmonizing with the lights, the towers, and the forests. It was as if the entire planet recognized the strength of their bond and the hope it represented. Later, standing on a balcony high above the city, Leora and Ethan looked toward the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, filled with mysteries, adventures, and challenges yet to come. But they were no longer afraid. They had each other, and that made all the difference. Do you think we are ready for whatever comes next? Leora asked, her voice soft but confident. Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand. We are. Together, nothing is impossible. Leora nodded, feeling a surge of certainty and joy. She had feared humans once, feared leaving her home, feared the unknown. But now she understood that courage and trust could bridge any gap. And with Ethan by her side, she was ready to embrace the future fully, knowing that love, understanding, and partnership could shine brighter than any star. As the twin moons cast silver light over the glowing city, Leora and Ethan stood together, united. Their hearts beat in quiet harmony, their minds aligned with purpose, and their souls ready for the journey ahead. The universe was vast, but now it was a place of hope, promise, and endless possibilities. And so, their story began. Not as a tale of fear or obligation, but as a story of courage, trust, and a love that could span worlds. Together, they would explore, protect, and discover the galaxy side by side, hearts intertwined, facing every challenge as one. The stars above Zephyria seemed to shine brighter that night, as if the universe itself celebrated the union of two worlds and the promise of a future built on understanding, respect, and love.